Joining me now in the studio is Palestinian British political analyst Yousef Al-Helou. Yousef, of course, you are Palestinian. Your reaction, your feelings this hour now that the Gaza ceasefire has been confirmed?
Yes, the long-awaited ceasefire deal has been reached after 467 days of brutal...
467 days.
15 months of brutal genocide amid the watchful eyes of the international community. It's moments of joy. People in Gaza, despite the pain and sorrow and sadness, they're celebrating in the streets and the alleyways and in the refugee camps across the Gaza Strip. Thousands of Palestinians still under the rubble, their bodies still buried under the rubble, including my sister, nephews and nieces, and thousands of other Palestinians. I would like at this moment to pay our tribute to the martyrs, our prayers to the victims and martyrs of those family who lost loved ones, those who were under this huge pressure, unable to sleep, unable to have a normal life. Tons of bombs were dropped on Gaza. People were starved to death in Gaza. People died as a result of cold weather. Hospitals were destroyed. Now the moment to celebrate, as you can see on the screens, it's like a joyful atmosphere.
Scenes that we have not seen at all for a very long time, Yousef. And just, sorry to interrupt, as you said, 467 days, 15 months of Israel's war on Gaza. A deal has been announced with 3 phases. There have been many ceasefires in the past. Are you confident that phase 1 will be carried out smoothly, that will reach phase 2 as well? And how much pressure, how much influence will Donald Trump have for this to succeed?
Well, this depends on the mediators, the Qatari, Egyptian, the American administration, whether it's Biden administration or elect Donald Trump. They have to monitor, they have to exercise their pressure on the Israeli side, because remember, it's the Israeli side who always violates these ceasefires and truces. And this deal will go into effect on Sunday. So we have 3 days. And now Israel has been intensifying its aerial attacks, killing civilians and killing 10 children tonight.
Even today, yeah.
So people will continue to suffer until the deal will go into effect. This has to do with the good intention of the U.S. administration, because they are the only power on earth that they can pressure Netanyahu to accept
Why so
the
long,
deal.
Yousef? Why, as Biden said, he clearly said it there, that this was the same deal that we had on the table back in spring.
We were supposed to have a ceasefire back in May, but Netanyahu kept rejecting. He kept imposing more conditions. I think Netanyahu has failed to achieve his stated goals. He failed to free the hostages, despite the fact some say that he knows where they are, but he doesn't care about them. He wants to prolong the genocide to prove his point. He wants to uproot Hamas. He wants to break the will of the Palestinian people. He wants to stay in power, and he wants to show the Israeli society that he's a tough guy.
And he's not achieved any of these.
He hasn't. He has failed miserably. Hamas is still in power. They did not raise the white flag. Palestinians are celebrating. He failed to force Palestinians to flee to the Egyptian side. He forced to, address the main concerns of his own people. Remember, Gaza is a pressure cooker. It's the world's largest open-air prison, and he has transformed it into the world's largest concentration camp and extermination camp.
This point, the 3rd phase, I know that the details are still very raw, but of course it talks about the 3rd phase, what happens next, how they rebuild. What are your concerns here? Hopefully we do get to this phase. Yeah. What happens to Gaza? What happens to the Palestinians? Who rules Gaza?
There is lack of trust. That's why Hamas put a condition that this deal should be implemented on 3 phases. They want to test the good intention of the Israelis, because they might change their opinion. And because remember, Israel wanted to release the hostages and continue the war. And Hamas insisted from day one. They said, we are not willing to accept a ceasefire without a total halt to the Israeli hostilities. So in order for this deal to be implemented, there must be intervention on part of the mediators. Aid trucks must be allowed into Gaza. Rafah crossing must be reopened. And also Israeli withdrawal is expected from the Philadelphia route along Gaza-Egypt border, and also from the Netzarim route, which separates Gaza to north and south. So it's going to be gradual implementation of this deal. What's important now is to halt these military activities to allow people in the north, in the south, to go back. Because remember, Israel has displaced Palestinians internally. You've got 2 million people displaced in the south.
Absolutely. I just want to, you just stay here, Yousef, 1 second. We just want to hear how, of course, there are scenes of jubilation. It is mixed, as you said. We pay tribute to more than 46,000, that's the official figure, Palestinians that have died. So many under the rubble, so many that, even that number, we know from the Lancet, much higher. But just let's get a sense of how people are reacting right now in Gaza. People celebrating, thousands have been taken to the street as the announcement was made of that Gaza ceasefire. 15 months that we've been waiting for this. Listen.
By God, we are very happy that this crisis, sadness, bombing and death that happened to us is finally over, and that we will return to our hometowns and return to our families in Beit Hanun, Gaza and the north of Gaza, and see our families who remained alive and see our lives return to our old lives and be happy and live like we used to.
There are many people we have lost. They left us without saying goodbye, without hugging. We did not see their bodies. We did not see their graves. Even the graves in which they are buried were scattered by tanks and burned. We do not know what our situation will be like when we return to the north of Gaza.
There you are, some voices there, some reaction there from Palestinians there in Gaza reacting to the news that the ceasefire deal is now official. And Yousef Al-Helou is still with me in the studio. So many people have been displaced more than 10 times. So many people have been, thousands, let's just say, sleeping on the streets for 15 months, 467 days, as you correctly said, Yousef. How do they rebuild? Many people want to go north. What is left to go home to?
There is nothing left. Israel destroyed much of Gaza. The northern parts of the Gaza Strip, Beit Hanun, Beit Lahiya, Jabalia, leveled to the ground. Entire neighborhoods were wiped out. So those people, they will go back to live on the ruins of their houses in tents. They don't care. They say we would love to go back even if we sleep on the floor.
Because this is resilience, isn't it? This is their land, this is their home, this is a real Palestinian spirit.
Palestinians are the indigenous people of the land, and they have nowhere to go. And Gaza is a concentration camp. There are no exit points. There is still no safe place in Gaza. Israel bombs from the air, from the sea, from the ground. Gaza has been under a crippling Israeli naval blockade, siege, and restrictions. What goes into Gaza, what goes out of Gaza has to be approved by the Israeli authorities. So the reconstruction of Gaza will be restricted. Israel will have to put its conditions. It will be a very slow process. To remove the rubble, it will take years. And to rebuild Gaza, it will take years. I was in Gaza in the summer of 2023, 1 month before the genocide. I was lucky to see my beautiful city before it's being destroyed forever.
Which is your city? Which one?
Gaza City.
Gaza City itself, yeah.
And I was lucky to reunite with my family after being away for so long. And I met my sister, Asma, who was martyred. And I'm producing a documentary film to maintain the legacy of Gaza for the next generations to see, because the next generation will not be able to see how beautiful Gaza was.
Incredible.
It's very sad. Yeah.
It is very sad indeed. And something that Ashraf said, it was hope. The hope that kept so many Palestinians alive. What do you think the international community will do now? Do you think as aid, we hope, can come in? They've said 600 trucks will start to come in on day 6. Do you think there'll be a renewed effort to help Gaza? Public opinion has changed in the US and globally, but do you think that won't be enough to really rebuild, given the Trump administration and maybe the politics?
If Gazans are given the chance to have a normal life, they will rebuild their city. Israel is restricting the Palestinians of Gaza, treating them as subhumans. It will take years for people to gather the shattered pieces of their lives. It's not easy to go back into normality. 2 million people, they suffer from psychological distress and trauma and scars. Children, they are denied the right to go to school. Schools are destroyed. Hospitals are destroyed. Universities destroyed. Playgrounds, musical centers, everything is destroyed. So, but people, they say, well, we are not going to vanish. Palestinians refuse to go to the museum. And I always say that as a Palestinian, I did not ask to be born as a Palestinian. I just got lucky. Palestinians are dignified people. We refuse to, give up our right of return. And remember, the whole issue started in 1948. It's not about 7th of October.
Correct.
When people talk to me about this, I said,
it's important to add this context, that
exactly.
It didn't happen in a vacuum.
So what I'm trying to say is that 600 trucks of aid must be allowed into Gaza for a whole year. The Rafah border crossing must be reopened to allow thousands of injured people to receive advanced medical attention abroad. And for those people who are, exactly, and those people who are stranded in the Egyptian side to go back. Also, the reconstruction must start as soon as possible. But of course, the jubilation will be much wider when the Palestinian political prisoners will be released, including Palestinian hostages. You have hundreds of Palestinian minors and women are being held without a charge or trial, and those Palestinian hostages will see the light after years being behind Israeli captivity.
Yousef, you've made us understand so many points beyond what we're discussing, just the immediate ceasefire deal points. Thank you so much for your time today and reacting to our breaking news on the ceasefire deal. Thank you so much, Yousef Al-Helou. Always a pleasure to have you.